Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for being here with me on this amazing Friday. I love all the messages and life lessons our speakers are sharing with us. Our next guest is Donna Wayles. Donna is an author, speaker, teacher, and domestic abuse survivor whose personal experiences, conversational style, and life lessons inspire audience to heal and to help others find hope. She now lives in Rhode Island with her amazing husband, daughter, two spoiled bunnies, and Skittles, the cat. Today, she will walk us through domestic violence escape to ever after. Welcome, Donna. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is great.
The floor is yours.
So I thought that domestic abuse happens to other people and not to me because I'm a teacher. I have a master's degrees in education, 20 years of more than 20 years of experience. And I was a leader in my church and community. I believed all the stereotypes, but the day that my husband, or my ex-husband now, but the day that my face hit the glass of the storm door in our apartment, my opinion changed. In fact, everything changed. And I became a domestic violence victim. And with my husband's final assault, everything that was important to me, I lost it all. My home, my safety, my job, my church and community, they were all gone. So I have made a decision to make my life better. So I'm sharing my story of grace, of God's grace and hope and second chances. And the reason that I share my story is because, there might be people who find themselves in my position. I didn't realize that I was being abused because it became such a normal thing. I didn't realize that abuse isn't just having physical bruises, that there's that mental or emotional abuse. You're lucky I married you, or you're lucky I'm with you because no one else will have you. That emotional abuse that really beats us down and makes us think that we're worthless. The verbal abuse. Sometimes it's financial abuse too, withholding money, or, just oh, well, you can't have that, whatever. And then sexual and spiritual abuse, the sexual abuse making, coercion and that kind of thing. And then the spiritual or cultural abuse comes in where, like, my ex-husband used my beliefs against me. Well, God says you have to do what I say because I'm the husband. Okay, but that's not really what God says. And so those things all, I had to come to a point where I realized that those things are all abuse, the ways that he was manipulating me. And then in that final assault, I had come home that day from a mentoring program. I was teaching other people and doing a mentoring program, and my now ex-husband had sorted all my things into what I could keep, what he was allowing me to keep, and what he was taking. And all my things were missing. My favorite jewelry, my favorite perfume, all kinds of, just personal things. And it was awful. And so I was walking around the house going, where are my where are my things? Where can I find them? You need to give them back to me. And I was calling my friend because my ex-husband was pacing and he seemed very agitated, and I knew I needed to get away from there. But as I was calling, I turned my back to him and he grabbed me by the back of the neck and my arm, and he slammed my body into the storm door of our apartment. And it was a second floor apartment. And somehow I got my hand through the screen on the bottom and found the latch. And I remember hitting the top, the door jamb at the top. I remember my feet hitting that. And then I remember the bottom of the 13 concrete stairs. And I remember thinking, thank you, God, because the angels must have carried me down, because there's no way that I don't remember touching any of the steps in between. And then my ex-husband came and followed me down, and I was hiding in the trash enclosure away, trying to keep away from him, where, next to the trash cans in our apartment building. And that, when the detectives got there and the ambulance, they asked me if I thought he tried to kill me. And I said no. But when they arrested him, he told the arresting police officers that he did try to kill me and that he would finish the job if he found me. And so I couldn't go back. My daughter was 1.5 years old. There was no way that I could go back, because with a 1.5-year-old little baby, she needed a safe parent, and I was it at that point. So I had to put a safety plan in place. Where am I going to go? What's going to be safe? We ended up staying in a home of a friend of mine, and we actually hid my car in a neighbor's barn and put a big tarp or cloth to cover it, because he was coming looking for me. And so it just was a horrible experience. But but at this point, I'm so glad that there were people that would help me. My book is called I'll Pray for You, because while I was living in hiding, I went to the head. He was the head elder of my church. And I went to him for help, and he said, oh, we can't help you because your soon to be ex-husband is dangerous, but thoughts and prayers, good luck. And I thought, but you hosted my baby shower, and we used to come to dinner, and we went shopping. Your wife and I went shopping. And what do you mean thoughts and prayers? And he just dismissed me, didn't even let me in the house. And it was just gut-wrenching. It was horrible to just have that sense of hope just taken away. And so part of my book and part of what I am advocating is just kindness. We all have things that we're going through. They may not be as traumatic as mine was, but take time to listen to someone. There were a couple of people that I tried to explain what was going on in my house. And this one lady said, oh, well, it's a dangerous world. It'll be, it's nice that your husband cares so much to protect you. And that's not protection when he doesn't allow me to go out anywhere or answer my phone or answer the door to our apartment. That's not protection. That's abuse and controlling. And people ask what I would have, what does kindness look like? Well, it looks like the older lady who brought me a cup of tea in an afternoon and said, tell me a little bit about what you were going through so that I can help you. Do you mind sharing? So it was conversations over a cup of tea. It was, it can be diapers for the baby, or it can be a gas gift card, or, just little things. You don't have to be involved or a lot, but something that you feel like that makes you feel, or makes the other person feel important, or feel like somebody's paying attention to them. Because everyone has feelings, and we all have things that we're going through. And so those little acts of kindness are really important. And then, what do you do after you get out? My first advice would be stay out. Don't go back, because that was obviously an abusive, bad situation. So, and then make yourself a priority, choose to be better. And sometimes healing is messy. There's this grief, even though the relationship was flawed and abusive, there's still the loss of that relationship. And the people around that relationship. And so there's that sense of grief and loss, but there's also a sense of hope. And I remember standing in my kitchen, kind of standing next to the refrigerator, and the little stove was there, and thinking, what am I going to make myself for dinner? Because, the baby's easy. She wants chicken nuggets and green beans and rice, and she wanted that every day. But what am I going to have? And then this thought hit me of, I could have squash, I could have vegetables, I could have onions and garlic and all the things that my ex-husband wouldn't allow in the house. And so from there I went, I don't have to wear the clothes that he wanted me to wear. I can wear what I want to wear. What is my favorite color? And all of these thoughts just came kind of racing through. But I choose to live and to be my own person, to be the best me that I can be. And so that's the hope, and that's the choosing to move on. One of the domestic violence victim advocates, I should say, said to me, the best revenge is living well. The abuser will say, well, you can't live without me. But I want to thrive. I don't want to just live without you. I want to be the best me I can be. And so, that sense of hope and those choices to be me and to embrace not necessarily the religion that I was in before, but the fact that God has allowed me to live and to have a second chance. And I'm remarried, and we have Skittles the cat, who, if you're sitting down, she comes and sits in your lap and purrs, and so it's a great life, and I'm just thankful to every day to be able to live it. It's that choice to be better and to live well.
Thank you so much, Donna. I am without words, because I cannot even imagine what you went through. As exactly what you mentioned, that you think that this cannot happen to you. And I would like to ask you something, because you mentioned that it can also be emotional abuse that is not necessarily physical. And I know that emotional part is more difficult to detect, I would say, because you may think, okay, the other person had a bad day, or the other person doesn't really mean it, or I don't know, right now maybe I shouldn't disturb him or her. So there are all kinds of thoughts and maybe excuses that we can invent in order to protect the other person, in order to not really look at what is happening. And I've seen this many, many times. Yes. What would you say? What can we do in order to become aware of what really happens? Maybe love blinds us sometimes. How can we open our eyes?
So I had a friend who actually pointed out to me that, perhaps your relationship is abusive. And I thought, that can't be right. And one of the ways to think about abuse is power and control. So is the other person using those emotional statements to try to control me, to try to get me to do something for them or feel bad for them? Or so that's one of the ways that really helped me open my eyes to that. One was my friend just flat out saying, you're a different person when he's around than when it's just, going out with the girls. And then the other part of that is that manipulation and that control, and trying to have someone tell you what to do all the time. So if it feels like like they're trying to get to control you, that's probably abuse. And so that's where I would, just that. And there was sometimes we feel like things aren't quite right. Like you don't know what's wrong, but you can't quite, and the expression is put your finger on it. You can't quite pinpoint what it is. But if you feel like there's something wrong, there probably is. So trust your feelings, and then think about that power and control. Are they trying to keep me from doing or want me to do something for them?
Thank you so much, Donna. And thank you for making yourself vulnerable, because I know that this is not an easy thing to do, especially on this platform where there are so many people watching us. Thank you so much once again for sharing that with us. And I would like to ask you, because from what you experienced and what you explained, you found the strength within yourself to really make that change, to really say no more, I will get out of this situation, and things started to happen. How did you manage to find that strength? Because I would say that once we are aware, the next step is to make a change, to do something about it. How did you do it?
So I tried to make my situation with my now ex-husband better. I thought that, maybe we should go to counseling, and I gave him, because I'm a very practical person. So I was thinking about, there were 3 things that I thought we could do. One, we could go to counseling and see, what we could do together. The second one was we would just stay together for a little while until I could get my teaching certificate renewed and find a job, because I was staying at home with the baby at this point. And the third thing was that we could just get a divorce and go our separate ways. And he was very angry when I gave him those. That was an ultimatum to him. And I thought, those aren't ultimatums. That's just our choices. Those are just logic. And so basically it was awful. And honestly, I was so emotional that I couldn't eat, and I was like physically ill because of all of the stress. But there were days that I only got out of bed because my daughter, who's now graduating from high school, at that point, she was 1.5 years old, and she needed a sane and good parent. And my ex-husband couldn't be that. So I had to be that. And so sometimes it just was her, and other times it was just the the best revenge is living well, and I'm going to survive this. You're not taking me down with you. And so sometimes it was just I don't know if revenge is the right word, but just my daughter would say feisty, right? Just the spirit of, you're going to destroy yourself. I don't want any part of that. And so just pulling away from all of the destructive things, going, I'm going to make a better life for myself, and then working toward that.
Thank you so much, Donna, for sharing that with us. Can you tell us more about how is your life today and what is happening? I said it very quickly in the bio, but can you give us more flavors about how you are living your life today?
So now I am teaching at basically it's an inner city school. The children that I teach are new immigrants to the United States. A lot of them don't speak English. And so we have a lot of fun trying to, and I teach technology education. So my 7th grade class builds things. And our next project will be a solar oven. So we're going to make little solar ovens, and they're going to make, we haven't decided yet whether we're making cookies or marshmallows and chocolate on graham crackers, called s'mores here in the United States, and or whether they're going to make little pizza bites, but they're very excited about building solar ovens. And so, but I think that what I went through makes me a better person, but it's also a better teacher because we can talk about some of the things that they had to go through as immigrants to the US, and some of the some of them are refugees from South America, Central America, and it's really they have come through some really difficult times, and some of them are just thankful for, we made a word cloud of the things that they were thankful for. And some of these children said they were thankful for their life, and they're just thankful to be alive. They're thankful to have food at the cafeteria, and that makes me want to be grateful too, right? For the life that I have. So I have a beautiful house. My daughter is graduating from high school this year. We have 2 bunnies. My bunnies are Svetlana and Storm. And Svetlana is an Angora lion head bunny, so she's white and fluffy. And Storm is her, we call him her husband, right? Instead of husband. And Storm is just a big French lop bunny. And so they're very adorable together. But they're house bunnies. So when I'm getting ready for school in the morning as a teacher, the bunnies are hopping around my feet. And when it's time to feed them, Svetlana comes in and nibbles at my pant leg or my ankle. And she will put her head, like smack her head against my ankle, going, okay, it's time to feed me. And then she'll hop over to her little house, and I open the door and let her in. But it's those little things in the mornings and those little, nothing big, but those little experiences and that remind me at least of life is good when you're getting ready in the morning and the bunny decides that it's time to be fed. Just nice little things that happen make us smile.
Thank you so much, Donna. Thank you once again. And this reminds me of what Marcus Aurelius says, that little is needed to have a life of happiness, to be happy every day. Thank you so much once again for being with me today. And I would like to close our session today by asking you, who are you helping outside your teaching?
So there was a lady that my husband met who he said, I wish, he said, because he's heard my story so many times, he said, it just sounded when she was talking like her situation wasn't very good. And we ended up helping her actually leave an abusive relationship and get into safety and get into a safe shelter and with her 2 little girls. And that was so rewarding to be able to help someone else who was in a position similar to mine. So I'm doing that. And then I'm also working on a second book. And the second book is more of, and I'm working on me actually, what does healing look like? So yes, I got out of this horrible relationship, but how do I move on from that? And so speaking with like your audience now and helping other people realize that healing takes a long time. And some of those scars, they will always be scars, but we don't have to dwell on those scars. We can dwell on the little happy moments. And so that's what I'm doing right now.
Thank you so much, Donna. Thank you once again for being today with me. I am honored to have you here. And once again, thank you for making yourself vulnerable. This for me is really brave and strong, and everything you went through and the way you changed your life is absolutely inspiring. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.